right. Welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I am your host, Kim Warner, and we're going to talk a little further on the collective shift. And so I started off in the last recording on Paul and how he said, I die daily. But I went on and I began to look at the children of Israel when Pharaoh, he would not obey Moses' words from God to let the people go. And it's a prime example of that time in Exodus and Numbers that people were in bondage. They had been serving Pharaoh for many years after Joseph in Genesis around the 50th chapter had become a prime minister who was Jacob's son, Israel. Children of Israel tribe. This is where it all begins. And so here in Exodus and Numbers, the tribes are pretty much taken into captivity. And surely there is always going to be a savior or some type of individual that will rise up that will begin to speak the truth concerning freedom. And, at this time, there is a lot of energy going on from the planets, and that is Pluto, Jupiter, in conjunction in Capricorn. These are liberating planets, although Capricorn is a limiting planet. These planets are working to break down a structure. So how be it that we're in a collective shift? Well, the collective shift has been going on, but individuals had been embracing a philosophy, a faith base, and some had not. But some knew that something needed to change in the world. And that had to do with the structure and how man has built the hierarchy for the world. There was a falter in the system. So here we can go parallel. If you're a Christian or whatever religion you actually have been adapted to, and look at how there's been a bondage and a suffering for certain classes of people. And so when the collective shift came here in the world, what happened is it's taken a lot from everybody. But it's not that it's a crippling factor. It's like embracing that there's possibilities for new. And that's for people that may be looking at this like the world is coming to an end. Well, the world is coming to an end in the fashion that we've known, but it's coming to a new beginning for those that want to be a part of freedom. Freedom, because freedom has not really been something that we've had. Even when we say that we're disciples of Christ, or Buddhists sitting and before Buddha, those disciples, we've not been free, and the religions have been a part of the governmental structure that is going down. So a lot of people are feeling the shift in a way where they don't know what to do. You practice the spiritual practices that you've had, and that's why you've been practicing, actually, so that if a crisis came in a universal way, you would be able to be in a place where you're solid. On Christ the solid ground I stand. So when we go back to look at Moses and Pharaoh, what is happening is God is asking Moses to be used as an oracle or some, that kind of thing, to tell Pharaoh that his time is up. And the funny thing about this is that Pharaoh denies, his opportunities every time that Moses goes. And it's like, when you read it at first, you're like, why is God having him, Moses to keep doing this? And it's like, God, you are God. But God allowed a scheme to play out, which was denial after denial from Pharaoh, until there were losses that occurred in Pharaoh's house. And so here we see the hierarchy's house beginning to experience losses. And what we're doing is not gloating because it's happening, but we're seeing in that manner a shift in those that have had, and the shift is bringing in, if they can look at it, those who had not the ability to have. And if we could get our minds out of the pandemic and we could put our minds on the possibilities and go into spirit and begin to see all of the possibilities, things that we dreamt of, then we would see that the shift is possibly for our good. It's not a crisis. It's a crisis where lives are being lost, but why did this have to come to this kind of place? Why didn't, people that have been governing factors in the world take a look at things from a better perspective where all people would thrive rather than some? Why did we have to be in classes? And not in a way where we're individuals who are actually doing something good, right? And then when I say classes, I look at the people that have been poor, struggling and fighting for so many decades, the ancestries, it's always been that same kind of situation. And people would just look at them and say, well, they're just an ignorant type of person. And that's just the way that they are. That's not the matter of fact. There are some, hidden issues that have caused them to be in that position. And at this time, I pray that even they would lift up their heads and see that the King of Glory is actually coming. It says in the Bible, who is this King of Glory? Well, the King of Glory is your ability to see Christ within you, because Christ has never been a man outside of us beyond antiquity in this day and time. Antiquity was one thing, but Christ, he ascended. Isn't that something? He ascended, and we were left here to actually do the same things that he had did. It is written. So when we look at the power of God that we were left with, all of us that had been in suppressed situations begin to look to the hills from which cometh your help. And we will begin to see collectively that suppression or depression and, the compromisations that have been a part of our lives is gone also with the collapse of this here structure with the collective shift. All right. And so looking at Moses, when he went the last time and the people were released, I think it probably was about 6 or 7 times he went back to Pharaoh, but the release finally happened. And the people went with him, groaning and moaning through hard times, as if their lives were not hard being slaves to Pharaoh. That's one of the things is that, we have to get to a place where we can just say thank you without seeing things, without seeing the better, and then seeing the better in the spirit is what I mean. Because that groaning, complaining, and moaning will keep you in the past, because that's who you've been. You were groaning and moaning in slavery, and so now you take it into the new season of your life collectively with everybody else. And so then you're looking at the wheat and tares. Okay, it's time for some sifting to be done, because are you Satan, or are you a woman or man of God that believes that you are blessed because you've been released from a slave position with deprivation, and you're worrying about all kind of things that just don't matter anymore? Well, what I'm saying is, think about all that could be. As you think, your thoughts put things into motion. It puts ideas and energy into motion to bring more to you. Okay? So, and how do you pinpoint that? In the beginning, God created. You and I are God. Yes. And Jesus said, no longer you're a friend, but you are a brother and a sister. That means that we have a lineage with God. All right? And that means that if Jesus was and had the Spirit of God within him, is the Son of God, and we're brothers and sisters, then that means that we are now the children of God. So we take up, our bed and begin to walk instead of making excuses anymore, and celebrate the time that we have to worship and praise, to sit and mull over, to allow our minds to adapt to the new energies that have come, and have less of anger and groaning, moaning, and complaining. Celebrate the collective shift, because I've been waiting on it. I'm willing to work through it. I've worked through hard times working with people or working for Pharaohs, and that's not concerning, the people that I worked with directly. I'm saying that when I have to pay taxes on a land that does not belong to me and belongs to somebody else, or just pay taxes to work, and I have to be there from 8 to 5 every day, I welcome the change that we have today. I am not worried about the bill collector. That is not my God. It's a time to evaluate who God has been to you, because if God is your debt collector, then that's where you're going to be. But if you know that there's a universal God that has taken care of you through hard times, then you are going to celebrate the universe for the freedom that you have from those bills and everything else, because as nothing is moving, nothing can be taken away from you. I said it, as nothing is moving, so nothing can be taken away. It is a time to focus on good, to look at how you can acquire, to set goals, to do mapping, to do goal setting. That's what time it is now. This is a time where your mind should be able to get a break, because you've been working hard. Everybody in the world has been working hard. They've been working overtime, beyond time. They didn't have time to look to God within them. All they had was to look to Pharaoh. It's a time and season of a breaking. And so in that breaking the chains, my God, and releasing the people to go free, to do what God, the universe, has called us to do collectively. I love you. God bless you. I am on YouTube and Facebook. Kim Warner is my name. And also you can email me at ifwbuilders@gmail to learn more about our organization. We're a 501c3. We believe in inner wealth, and that's what IFW Builders actually means, inner wealth builders, because there's a wealth of knowledge and blessings within each and every one of us. Have a great day.